Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. If you guys didn't know, Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones was cast in the Star Wars Han Solo film as the female lead. So this is going to be my reaction video. I'll explain what's going on and how this is going to affect Game of Thrones Season 8. So if you heard about this the other day, you might have noticed that nobody was talking about who she is playing because Lucasfilm is keeping that really close to the vest. I think for one big reason is that it's some big change from the established canon. Like they said that they got rid of the EU or most of the EU so that they could do new things with the films. That means that she might be playing a character that we've never seen before, like a completely original character, or she might be a recast, younger version of a character that we already know really well, like Princess Leia. But I don't think that's the case. I think the whole idea with this Han Solo film is to tell the story of how he won the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian, who's being played by Donald Glover. But two, I think they're also trying to tell the story of how he and Chewbacca came together, and the story of how Chewbacca came to have the life debt. But largely the story of how Han Solo won the Millennium Falcon was in a sabacc game. So imagine James Bond in a smuggler's version of Casino Royale playing that epic poker game, but he winds up winning the Falcon because Lando doesn't have enough to cover his bets. But the story of how Chewbacca came to be Han Solo's co-pilot of the Millennium Falcon, the story of the life debt, they might weave in a lot of Clone Wars stuff because technically Clone Wars is still canon to Star Wars. They didn't throw that out like they threw the rest of the EU out. So once we get some more details, we can talk a little bit more about that. But what about Game of Thrones? Because Emilia Clarke, if she's going to be the female lead of this Han Solo movie, they start shooting in January. What does that say for Game of Thrones Season 8? Well, the good news is that it shouldn't have any effect at all because of winter. So on Game of Thrones this past season, one of the big problems filming was they had to wait for things to get colder because in the world of Game of Thrones, winter has come, so they need to reflect that in all the filming that they do. So they just waited till later in the year, till it was actually winter in some of the places they were filming in Europe. So typically what they've done in previous seasons is they just start shooting during the summer and they'd shoot all the way up towards the end of November, early December. So this year they waited a couple more months, filmed a little bit later in the year, but they'd still be done filming for her to do Han Solo in January. And even though it could take up to 6 months to film a really big Star Wars film, she would still be done in time to start filming Game of Thrones Season 8 on time. Just keep in mind that they're going to be doing the exact same thing next year with Season 8. They'll start filming later in the year, there'll be fewer episodes, so they won't film quite as much, but each of the episodes that they film will be much bigger. So that's like a whole other video about them filming Season 8 because it will be hardcore winter by the time that starts. But Emilia Clarke in a Star Wars movie, this is a huge deal. I would say of all the Game of Thrones actors that I would love to see in a Star Wars film, she's somewhere near the middle. I feel like Lena Headey is a better actress, but the thing is this is a movie about a younger Han Solo, like a 20-something Han Solo. If you imagine that he's like a 30-something Han Solo when the original trilogy picks up. So you have to cast an actress that has like age parity with Alden Ehrenreich, who's playing Han Solo. So a lot of you are wondering, maybe this is Han Solo's wife from before he met Princess Leia. I don't think that's who she's playing because she's an African-American character, so I don't think they're going to whitewash that. Her name is Sana Starros. Another big thing on the fan wish list is Ahsoka in the movies. A lot of you were asking me, maybe she's playing Ahsoka. The thing about that is that I think we'll eventually see her somewhere in the spin-off films, but I think it's much more likely that Ahsoka would show up during the Obi-Wan spin-off film just because she, Obi-Wan, and Vader go hand in hand, and Han Solo didn't really encounter that many Jedi before he met Luke and Obi-Wan on Tatooine. The story of the original trilogy, like, when we get to episode 7 and he says, "The Force, it's all true," like it took him a long time to get to that point. I don't think there are going to be a lot of Jedi or even Darth Vader in this Han Solo movie. So my thought is that it's more likely that she's a Jyn Erso type character, someone who's really big but brand new and original to this film. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about Emilia Clarke in this Star Wars Han Solo movie, and who do you think that she is playing? Just, keep in mind that they're not doing a lot of expanded universe stuff. so she's probably not one of those characters. And keep in mind that if she's this age during this Han Solo movie, then she would also be like Princess Leia age during Star Wars Episode 7. So she'd be like a really old lady standing somewhere in the background here if she's still alive in the new films. But as we learn more about the film, I'll do more videos, so be sure to subscribe for more Han Solo videos. I think people will be a little bit more excited about the Han Solo film than they are about Rogue One, just because of the characters that they're doing. Like, they're doing the big characters. So I feel like the level of fascination is just going to be that much greater because, even though stealing the plans for the Death Star is a really big deal, most of the characters during Rogue One are actually pretty new. So I think the performance of Rogue One at the box office will largely determine how they tune the other spin-off films, like how much of the old characters should we put in these other films? Which film should we be doing? Like, do we do a Yoda film? Do we do a Boba Fett film? Do we do an Obi-Wan film? I actually think it's more likely that they would do a Yoda film in Obi-Wan Kenobi before they would do Boba Fett, just depending on the tone that they want to go with. But that's another big thing. Which other big film do you want them to do next? Because this Han Solo movie will kind of fill the gap between Star Wars Episode 8 and Episode 9. So we'll get that next spin-off film after Episode 9. So that's a long ways off. They have a long time to figure it out. But I do feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi would be like the solid pick for like the next big film to do. But New Walking Dead posting later tonight, and then I'll do my Westworld video just like last week. It seems like everybody was really happy with the Westworld video that I did, so I'll keep doing that through the rest of the season. So while you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for my Star Wars Episode 8 video, and you can click here for all my Game of Thrones Season 6 and Season 7 videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.